Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Ichigo were reborn with all of his memories? Would he have been able to prevent all the deaths and tragedies from happening, or would his rebirth only make things worse? So, the story would start normally, with Ichigo being born and slowly remembering all of his memories as he grows up. By the time Ichigo's 5 years old, he would already know everything that's supposed to happen in the future, including the death of his mother, Misaki. This is when Ichigo would start planning things out so that she doesn't die this time around. He'd realize that the best person to help him is probably Ryukin, who was once meant to marry Misaki and would go to any length to protect her. So, Ichigo would start preparing for this slowly, gradually building a closer relationship with Ryukin and his son, Uryu. Soon, 4 years would pass, and the day Ichigo's mother is supposed to die would finally arrive. But this time, Ichigo would be determined not to let it happen. So he would approach Ryukin and tell him that Misaki is in danger. He would skip over most of the major details and simply ask Ryukin to trust him and come with him. Although Ryukin would be unsure, he would sense that Ichigo is serious and would decide to trust the little brat. From here, things would proceed as usual, with Ichigo and Misaki heading back home while 𝐿 tries to lure Ichigo. However, this time, Ichigo wouldn't fall for the bait, which would cause 𝐿 to reveal itself early. Meanwhile, Ryukin would secretly be following them the entire time at Ichigo's request. However, instead of acting immediately, Ryukin would wait to see if Misaki can defend herself. Just then, 𝐿𝐵𝐴's Ashwelon would happen, causing Misaki to lose all of her powers and fall onto her knees. Now, since Ryukin's a pure-blooded Quincy, he wouldn't be affected by this and would be able to react quickly to block 𝐿 attack. Although 𝐿 is pretty strong, Ryukin is a high-tier captain-level opponent, so he'd make quick work of the Hollow. After defeating it, Ryukin would quickly move in to check on Misaki and realize that she's lost all of her powers. He would then turn to Ichigo, confused about how the kid knew this attack was about to happen. Ichigo would stay silent at this point, not wanting to reveal that he has memories of the future just yet. Ryukin would then decide to ignore Ichigo for now and instead take Misaki back to the clinic. As Misaki recovers, Ichigo would realize that if he wants to protect his family and friends, he needs to become stronger himself instead of relying on others. But before we continue, I want to tell you guys about Watcher of Realms, the sponsor of today's video. If you're anything like me, you probably love Assassin's Creed, and that's exactly why Watcher of Realms is doing an official collaboration where you can play as legendary assassins. They're even giving everyone the ultra-strong awakened 𝐿𝐵𝐴 for free, which is awesome since he's my favorite character. This collaboration also features a brand new storyline where the assassins team up to battle Anubis, Sworder, and Hades. An authentic limited-time assassination gameplay called Assassin's Code is a highly strategic mode where you have to eliminate monsters from behind without being detected. On top of that, you can earn 130 free summons, exclusive artifacts, and more just by logging in and completing event missions. Watcher of Realms features 200+ heroes, incredible visuals, and unique hack-and-slash gameplay. You can also explore a vast open world, join guilds, and take on challenging PvE bosses. Use free epic 3RD to obtain one of 2 powerful epic heroes for boosting your early game progression. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to download Watcher of Realms and claim a free legendary 𝐿𝐵𝐴 along with all the other rewards. It's available for free on PC, Android, and iOS. So, he would meet up with Isshin and straight up tell him that he knows he's a Shinigami. Isshin would of course be shocked and asked Ichigo who told him about this. In the end, Ichigo would tell him the truth and explain how he was reincarnated with all of his memories and knows exactly what's going to happen. Isshin obviously wouldn't believe him at first, but as Ichigo shares more and more details that only someone from the future would know, Isshin would eventually believe him. After both father and son are on the same page, Ichigo would finally ask Isshin to help him awaken his Shinigami powers. Considering everything Ichigo just told him, Isshin would agree to do it. So he would take Ichigo to meet Urahara and request that Urahara put Ichigo through the Shattered Shaft training to unlock his powers. This time Ichigo would effortlessly go through the whole training session because of his past knowledge and experience. After just one day, he'd come out of the pit in his robe with a hollow mask on his forehead. But there would be one crazy change this time. You see, instead of holding a broken Zanpakuto like in the original timeline, Ichigo would be holding 2 separate Zanpakuto, showing that he's already come to terms with his inner hollow white and his Quincy's heritage. This would surprise both Urahara and Isshin, who had never seen anything like this before. By this time, Ichigo would have 2 choices. Either tell Urahara about his future memories and risk changing the timeline even more, or keeping this information from him. After thinking about it, Ichigo would decide not to tell him for now, since more people knowing would only make everything harder. Now, even though Urahara wouldn't really understand Ichigo's powers, he would still be able to tell his immense hidden potential, so he would focus all his attention on training the kid and making him the strongest Shinigami possible. As Ichigo trains with his father and Urahara, he would also start learning more about his Quincy heritage from Misaki. Even though Ichigo already knows most of these things, he'd still be able to learn a lot from these talks. Just before Ichigo turns 12 again, he'd remember that Orihime's brother died in a fatal car accident and later became a hollow. So this time he'd prevent this tragedy by saving Sora before he's ever hit by a car. This would make Sora extremely grateful to him, and he'd introduce Ichigo to his younger sister, Orihime, who's the same age as him. Orihime and Ichigo would quickly become good friends, and they'd hang out a lot throughout their teenage years. Later, Ichigo would meet Chad as well, and after saving him from the bullies, the two of them would also become friends. At this point, Ichigo would be extremely happy with how things are going since he managed to prevent not one, but 2 tragedies from happening. However, he'd also know that the hardest parts are still ahead, so he shouldn't let his guard down. Time would pass quickly from here, and soon Ichigo would turn 15. A few months later, Rukia would be doing her patrol duty as usual before meeting Ichigo. She'd be shocked to learn that a human can see a Shinigami, but Ichigo wouldn't act surprised, since he already had a plan to reveal his Shinigami powers to her. As Rukia is explaining her duties, Ichigo would sense the arrival of the Hollow sent by 𝐈𝐴ZN. Instead of waiting for the Hollow to attack his family like before, he'd quickly act and defeat it before it can do anything. Rukia would be shocked to see Ichigo's strength and how skilled he is with his Zanpakuto. Rukia would then ask Ichigo who he really is and how he has Shinigami powers in the first place, but Ichigo wouldn't tell her anything. Still, Rukia wouldn't give up easily and would keep following him to learn more about his identity. She'd probably suspect him of being an exiled Shinigami or something similar, but she'd want to know for sure. Meanwhile, 𝐈𝐴ZN would learn that his plan had failed. However, he wouldn't be angry, but rather intrigued by Ichigo's Shinigami powers. He would realize that Ichigo is an anomaly and would try and figure out a way to make his plan work despite Ichigo's interference. So after thinking for a while, 𝐈𝐴ZN would come up with the perfect master plan to not only have Rukia executed, but also force Ichigo to come into the Soul Society. You see, 𝐈𝐴ZN knows that Isshin's disappearance for 20 years is a serious crime. So he would use this fact and have Central 46, which he had already replaced, issue an arrest warrant for Isshin. He would also anonymously reveal Isshin's spiritual signature as proof that he was still alive and hiding in Karakura Town. After Central 46 issues the warrant, the whole Gotei 13 would be shocked to learn that the previous captain of the 10th Division is still alive. The biggest shock would come to the current captain of the 10th Division, Toshiro Hitsugaya, who had always believed Isshin was dead. Similar to how the 6th Division came to the human world to capture Rukia, the 10th Division would follow the same path, and arrive at the Kurosaki clinic to arrest Isshin and bring him back to the Soul Society. Knowing that Ichigo might try to stop the arrest, 𝐈𝐴ZN would also send a few hollows to distract him while he carries out his plan. So while Ichigo's busy fighting the hollows, the 10th Division would finally have their long-awaited reunion with Isshin. Isshin would be surprised to see them, but when they tell him that they're here to arrest him, he would quickly become serious. However, there wouldn't be much he can do since he'd still be a powerless Shinigami at this point. So the 10th Division wouldn't face any resistance from him and they'd take him away. By the time Ichigo arrives, the 10th Division would already be gone. He wouldn't find his father anywhere except for a note where Isshin tells Ichigo that he was taken back to the Soul Society. Ichigo would become furious after learning this and almost lose control of his spiritual energy. He would instantly start yelling, saying that this was never supposed to happen. However, after calming down, he'd realize that this must be one of 𝐈𝐴ZN's schemes. After strengthening his resolve, Ichigo would head out to meet Urahara and tell him everything that happened. He'd also tell Urahara that he suspects 𝐈𝐴ZN is behind his father's kidnapping. Urahara would be surprised to learn that Ichigo knows about 𝐈𝐴ZN and would ask him how he came to this conclusion. At this moment, Ichigo would decide to tell him everything about his memories and rebirth, since there's no point in lying anymore. This would obviously come as a complete shock to Urahara, who would finally understand why Ichigo had been so strong and talented from the start. Ichigo would then tell Urahara that he wants to sneak into the Soul Society, rescue his father, and put a stop to 𝐈𝐴ZN. Urahara would agree and even help Ichigo open the Senkaimon to travel to the Soul Society. This time, Ichigo would enter the Soul Society by himself. This is because he's worried about putting his friends' lives in danger, especially now that 𝐈𝐴ZN has changed his plans. Expecting Ichigo, 𝐈𝐴ZN would prepare a few obstacles for him to slow him down and test his strength. However, Ichigo would play it safe and use stealth whenever possible to avoid unnecessary fights. By doing this, he'd be able to avoid most of 𝐈𝐴ZN's pawns and easily arrive at Yoruichi's place to recruit her. Yoruichi would be skeptical of Ichigo at first, but after sensing Urahara's presence on him, she'd decide to trust him. With Yoruichi's help, Ichigo would quickly discover that his father is being detained at the Maggot's Nest. So Ichigo and Yoruichi would quickly infiltrate the prison and free Isshin, but just when they're about to escape, the guards would notice their presence and quickly sound the alarm. This would leave Ichigo with no choice but to fight them. However, this fight would be extremely easy with Ichigo's current strength, which is almost unrivaled in the whole Soul Society. After defeating the guards, he'd take Isshin and Yoruichi to meet Yamamoto and Unohana. The two Shinigami would be surprised to see Ichigo and the others. However, instead of instantly attacking them, they'd allow Ichigo to explain himself. To prove himself, he'd also tell them about the massacre of Central 46 and Aizen's Shikai, Kyoka Suigetsu, which he used to completely hypnotize everyone. Yamamoto and Unohana would be skeptical about this, but with Isshin and Yoruichi supporting Ichigo's claims, they'd give him a chance and break into Central 46 to learn the truth themselves. After Yamamoto cuts through Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu illusion, reality would reveal itself to them. Both Yamamoto and Unohana would be absolutely shocked, as they would find it hard to believe that something like this had been happening right beneath their noses. Feeling responsible for letting Aizen trick them like that, they'd immediately cancel Central 46's orders to arrest Isshin and instead order the 𝐂𝐫 13 to find and arrest Aizen. At first, the 𝐂𝐫 13 captains would be confused by these orders, but Yamamoto and Unohana would explain what happened and what Aizen had been planning all this time. With all the captains present, Yamamoto would also order Gin and Tosen to be captured, as Ichigo already told him about their involvement with Aizen. However, before that can happen, Gin and Tosen would quickly be taken away by Aizen, who'd laugh at the rest of the captains and tell them that his plan had already succeeded. You see, while Ichigo was busy freeing Isshin and exposing Aizen's schemes, Aizen was moving in the shadows, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. The chaos Ichigo created in the Soul Society gave him the perfect chance to attack Rukia when no one was paying attention to her. He quickly paralyzed her with high-level Kido and then used the soul extraction device invented by Urahara to extract the Hyogoku from her soul. Holding Rukia's unconscious body, Aizen would laugh at everyone present and tell them that no matter how much they scheme against him, they can't stop him. Enraged, Ichigo would immediately try to attack him, but Aizen wouldn't give him the time and would disappear into the portal. Ichigo would be left devastated after this, as he didn't expect Aizen to get his hands on Rukia this time around. So, for the first time since his rebirth, Ichigo would lose control due to his anger, causing his spiritual energy to go berserk and scare the entire 𝐂𝐫 13. Concerned about Ichigo, Isshin would calm him down and tell him that it's not over yet, and that they can still stop Aizen if they all work together. Soon after, Ichigo and Isshin would set up a meeting with the 𝐂𝐫 13 to talk about their next move. Here, Ichigo would go into detail about Aizen's plan and explain what he's trying to achieve. The 𝐂𝐫 13 would be astonished by Ichigo's knowledge, but they'd also feel a little bit scared by how much Ichigo knows about everything. Not wanting everyone to know about his future memories, Ichigo would tell them that he can't reveal how he knows these things and ask everyone to trust him. Considering he helped them expose Aizen, they would agree and stop questioning it. In this meeting, Ichigo would also tell them that Aizen wants to achieve transcendence by merging both Hogyoku, and that if they can't stop him, he'll practically become immortal. He'd also tell them everything he knows about Arrancar and warns them to be careful of Aizen's tactics. Anyway, after the meeting's over, Ichigo would return to the world of the living and start to closely examine his current state. This would turn out to be his smartest move yet, as he'd realize that even though he's accepted all of his heritages, he's still not fully in sync with them. After closely inspecting his inner world, Ichigo would learn that since he never underwent full holification, his soul's not fully accepted his holo powers. That's why he's been losing control over his emotions all this time. To solve this problem, Ichigo would decide to focus on training his holo powers for the first time since he was reborn. But he wouldn't do this alone and would seek out the visors instead. However, unlike the original timeline, this time Ichigo would be the one training them. He'd use them as perfect partners to undergo complete holification and finally accept all of his lineage. The Vizards would be more than happy to train him, especially Shinji. After gaining the trust of all the Vizards, Ichigo would train with them for a whole 10 days. During these 10 days, Ichigo would face the holo in his inner world and defeat it. After gaining mastery over his holo powers, Ichigo would warn the Vizards that he's going to undergo complete holification and that they must be prepared to stop him in case he goes berserk. The Vizards would promise to stop Ichigo if he goes crazy, but Ichigo wouldn't be too worried this time around, and he'd be confident in his ability to control himself. Compared to the original timeline, Ichigo would easily overcome the full holification. Since he's already accepted his Quincy heritage, he'd directly unlock the Horn of Salvation form as well, completely skipping over his Mugetsu form. Ichigo's new form would leave all the Vizards scared, as they would be able to feel his immense spiritual aura, which is unlike anything they've seen before. Ichigo would be glad to finally be in full control of his strength and would believe that no one could stop him anymore. However, as soon as these thoughts enter his mind, Ichigo would suppress them, as he remembers that Aizen is still a terrifying opponent and that he needs to take him seriously. Now, while Ichigo's training with the Vizards, the 𝐂𝐫 13 would also finish setting up their own defenses to protect the Soul Society in Karakura Town from Aizen's attack. Just like in the original timeline, Urahara would create a fake copy of Karakura Town to fool Aizen and his espadas. This time around though, all the captains would be prepared for Aizen's Kyoku Suigetsu, so Ichigo wouldn't have to worry about them falling under complete hypnosis anymore. Ichigo would also make sure to give the captains information about all the espadas and how they counter them. Since Orihime never showcased her powers in this timeline, Aizen would never target her. Instead, he'd use his desire to achieve perfect transcendence to forcefully combine both Hogyoku into a complete form. Now, the 𝐬𝐫 13 would know that Aizen needs time to merge both Hogyoku and create an army of Arrancar, so they'd decide to launch a quick strike on Hueco Mundo to completely ruin his plans. So, Captain Mayuri would stabilize the portal to Hueco Mundo much earlier, since Ichigo already knows about it from his memories. Their quick invasion would catch the Arrancar army and the espadas completely off guard, as they have yet to master their newly gained powers. However, even despite this, all the espadas would still be as strong as the captains, and they'd all put up a great fight. During this, Ichigo would face a fully powered Ulquiorra, who in this timeline can already feel the immense pressure coming from Ichigo, so he wouldn't waste time and would forcefully activate his second release, Segunda Etapa, which would force even Ichigo to step back. Since Ichigo wouldn't want to reveal his Horn of Salvation form just yet, he'd intentionally fight Ulquiorra using only his perfect Shikai form. After a long battle, Ichigo would finally manage to defeat Ulquiorra. Ichigo would also fulfill one of his wishes from his previous life by having a fair battle with Ulquiorra and defeating him using his own strength. With Ulquiorra gone, the rest of the espadas and the Arrancar army president Hueco Mundo would fall easily. However, despite this impressive victory, this battle would last quite a while, which would give Aizen enough time to send the rest of his forces to attack Karakura Town so he can harvest 100,000 souls and create an imitation of the royal key. But let's just say things wouldn't go well for Aizen here. This is because as soon as he arrives in the town with Gin and Kaname, Aizen would realize that he has walked right into the 𝐬𝐫 13's trap. Furious, Aizen would quickly order his subordinates to kill all the captains so they can head to the real Karakura Town and gather the souls. But this wouldn't go that well for Aizen, as the captains came prepared. For example, Wonder-Wise Magella, who was created to counter Yamamoto, would never get the chance to use his abilities and would get thrashed in hand-to-hand combat instead. The rest of the top 3 Espada wouldn't fare any better, as they'd get stopped by the Vizards, who are much stronger now because of their training with Ichigo. Their power, combined with the rest of the 𝐬𝐫 13 captains, would completely overwhelm the 3 Espada, and they'd be quickly defeated. This would finally force Aizen to step onto the battlefield himself, and Ichigo would be right there waiting for him. Aizen would sense that Ichigo's strength is on a completely different level, so he wouldn't waste any more time and would instantly tap into his complete and final Hogyoku form. Aizen would call it perfect transcendence, but Ichigo would merely laugh at his delusions and tell him that there's no such thing as perfect in this world. Aizen would fall for Ichigo's rage bait and attack it with his Zanpakuto, but Ichigo would easily grab it with 2 fingers, just like how Aizen grabbed his Zanpakuto in the original story. Aizen would be baffled, as he couldn't believe that someone like Ichigo could block his attack like this. This is when Ichigo would remind him of the brutal reality by transforming into his Horn of Salvation form and showing Aizen what true transcendence looks like. Ichigo would utter just one word, Bankai, and in the next moment, Aizen's body would be cut clean in half. Even though Aizen would quickly regenerate due to his immortality, he'd still sense the pain and fear caused by Ichigo's Bankai. From here, Ichigo would just keep slashing Aizen again and again and again until he's unable to regenerate anymore. At this point, Urahara would quickly step onto the battlefield and seal Aizen using high-level Kido. Even though this is not what Ichigo had hoped for, he knows that even he can't completely kill Aizen. So, sealing him in an eternal prison would be the next best choice. After Aizen's defeated, all 3 worlds would return to peace once again. Also, since Ichigo didn't use the final 𝐿𝐵𝐻 Tensho this time around, it means he'd still have his powers and wouldn't have to go through all that Fullbringer stuff anymore. Despite this, he'd know from his previous life that Fullbringers would be great allies, so he'd decide to seek them out anyway. By doing this, Ichigo would also want to erase the threat of the Book of the End, which would save him a lot of trouble in the future. So in this timeline, Ichigo would never fall for Ginjo and Execution's trap. Instead, he'd face them in battle and force them to submit to him. He would then explain that the current 𝐬𝐫 13 system has improved a lot and is no longer as corrupt as before. After Ginjo and the rest of the Execution members learn about this, they decide to trust Ichigo for now and follow him from that day forward. However, even though things are going smoothly for now, Ichigo would know that his toughest challenge is still yet to come, as he still needs to defeat Yhwach and prevent his evil plans. You see, against Aizen, Ichigo didn't really need much support, but against Yhwach, who's a godlike being, Ichigo would want to gather as many capable allies as possible. So, he would first start by letting Chad train with Execution to learn more about his Fullbringer powers and become stronger. This would allow him to protect himself during the fight with Yhwach. Ichigo would then even train Orihime because of her healing ability, which will be extremely useful later on. While Chad and Orihime are training to unlock their complete Fullbringer powers, Ichigo would arrive in Soul Society to meet with the 𝐂𝐫𝐃 13 and inform them about 𝐬𝐫𝐴 and his master plan. He would expose the Wandenreich hiding in the shadows of the Serete and explain how they've formed their own realm of shadows. Because of everything Ichigo's done for them, the 𝐂𝐫𝐃 13 would fully trust him by this point. The 𝐂𝐫𝐃 13 would also have an easier time believing what Ichigo's saying because Yamamoto already knows how terrifying 𝐬𝐫𝐴 truly is. So instead of waiting for 𝐬𝐫𝐴 to attack them, they would decide to attack him first and destroy his 1,000-year scheme. However, Ichigo would warn them and remind them of 𝐬𝐫𝐴's almighty ability, which allows him to see the future. He would tell them to never let 𝐬𝐫𝐴 get close to the Soul King and absorb him, otherwise they would be fighting a losing battle. From there, Ichigo would continue his preparations by asking Urahara to develop the Shinyaku pills much earlier this time around, which would prevent the 𝐿 from stealing the Shinigami's Bankai. Ichigo would also ask Uryu for help, as his silver arrow would be extremely valuable against someone like 𝐬𝐫𝐴. Lastly, Ichigo would inform Tsukishima about his powers and explain how he can use them to cancel out 𝐬𝐫𝐴's effects on the battlefield. While Soul Society is busy preparing for an invasion against 𝐬𝐫𝐴, Ichigo would head to the royal palace to get his true Zanpakuto forged. This time, Ichigo wouldn't need to undergo Nemaya's trial because he already knows the truth about his Zanpakuto. So Nemaya would simply forge the true Zanpakuto for him, which would give Ichigo another massive power boost. After a few months of hard preparation, everything would be in place and Soul Society would be ready for the assault. 𝐬𝐫𝐴, having the power to see the future, would sense their attack and set up defenses to stop them. However, this time around, 𝐬𝐫𝐴 would have to fight an opponent who has also seen the future, which is something he definitely didn't expect. 𝐬𝐫𝐴 would quickly realize that all the defenses he built against the Soul Society are useless and that his 𝐿 have no advantage against the Shinigami who have taken the holification pills. So the first wave of the war would result in a massive loss for him. 𝐬𝐫𝐴 would then try to distract the Soul Society by using his body double, Royd Lloyd, but his plan would also fail as Ichigo had already informed Yamamoto about the decoy. Because of this, Yamamoto wouldn't waste his Bankai on him. Witnessing his 1,000-year plan crumble before his eyes, something would break inside 𝐬𝐫𝐴, causing him to awaken the Almighty much earlier. However, since he's not yet absorbed the Soul King, 𝐬𝐫𝐴 would not be able to use it for very long. Still, just the threat of the Almighty would be enough for Ichigo to activate his final plan. First, he would order Tsukishima to use the Book of the End to insert a new past where 𝐬𝐫𝐴 had never set up any traps for Ichigo and his allies. This would already make 𝐬𝐫𝐴 a much less dangerous opponent, but to increase their chances of winning even further, Ichigo would call out to Uryu and tell him to use the silver arrow to render 𝐬𝐫𝐴 completely useless. After this, Ichigo would activate his true Bankai and merge his two blades into one to finish off 𝐬𝐫𝐴 in a single hit. 𝐬𝐫𝐴 would foresee this future and attempt to break it, but he would only be able to break the outer layer of the blade, revealing Ichigo's true white blade inside. The blade would then easily cut through his core, finally putting an end to the 1,000-year blood war. Sometime after 𝐬𝐫�A's death, Ichigo would return to Earth and finally ask Orihime out on a date. By the end of it, he would decide to tell her the truth about his rebirth and how he had been carrying all of his memories from the very beginning. Orihime would be shocked at first, but as she reflects on everything Ichigo's done, she would slowly realize that it all makes sense. With no more secrets between them, Ichigo would decide to immediately propose to her and ask her to spend the rest of her life with him. However, even though Ichigo thinks his troubles are over at this point, that's not really the case. And there's still one more thing that will soon come back to haunt him. And worst of all, it's something he caused himself by changing the timeline. You see, since 𝐬𝐫𝐴 didn't absorb the Soul King in this timeline and become the new linchpin that stabilizes the three realms, the original Soul King would still be in the Soul Palace, slowly using up his spiritual energy to maintain the balance. However, this cannot last forever, because sooner or later, the Soul King would completely disintegrate and the three realms would shatter as a result. So Squad Zero would have to find a replacement for the Soul King, and who could be a better candidate than Ichigo Kurosaki himself, whose powers are unrivaled across all three realms. Basically, Squad Zero's leader Ichibei would plan to sacrifice Ichigo and use his body to stabilize the realms, just like how they did with the Soul King millions of years ago. Squad Zero's initial plan would be to make Ichigo willingly give up his life to protect his family and friends. So instead of acting right away, they would wait until Ichigo had grown into a mature adult with a proper family and children. Fast forward around 12 years after the 1,000-year Blood War, and Ichigo would be living a happy life on Earth with Orihime. They'd also have a son together, Kazui Kurosaki, who would be around 6 years old at this time. Years of peace would have dulled Ichigo's fighting senses somewhat. As for the past 12 years, he had completely different priorities, like being a father and husband instead of fighting crazy monsters. So Squad Zero would feel that this is the perfect time for them to strike. First, they would invite Ichigo to the royal palace for an important meeting concerning the fate of the three realms. Ichigo would be a bit suspicious of this, but he would still follow them. There, he would learn the truth about the Soul King and how he sacrificed himself 1,000,000 years ago to save the three realms from inevitable destruction. This is where Ichibei would finally tell Ichigo the truth, which is that they want him to sacrifice himself and become the next Soul King, or else the world would end. They'd emotionally manipulate Ichigo by using his family and friends against him, especially Kazui, his son. Ichigo would obviously refuse at first, saying that there must be another way to do this. However, Squad Zero would be hell-bent on making Ichigo the next Soul King, so after Ichigo refuses, they would stop being peaceful and resort to violence. Instantly, Senjumaru would activate her Bankai and trap Ichigo in her endless cloth tapestries. On the other hand, Kiryu would use her Cage of Life ability to trap Ichigo in a tree prison, which would drain his spiritual energy every time he tries to move. Meanwhile, Uetsu Nimaya would act as a backup to stop Ichigo if he manages to break free from the prison. This would only leave Ichibei, whose entire plan is to use his Bankai to name Ichigo the new Soul King, forcing him to become the linchpin. However, despite all their efforts, one thing all 5 Squad Zero members wouldn't be prepared for is Ichigo's Reiatsu, which is far above theirs. Because of this, their attacks would be unable to harm Ichigo in the slightest. After freeing himself, Ichigo would launch a dimension-shattering Getsuga Tensho, which would tear apart the very fabric of time and space where the 6 of them are standing. Sensing this ridiculous display of power, the Ghouta 13 would quickly arrive on the scene and be shocked to see that Squad Zero members are lying on the ground, defeated by Ichigo. They would all yell at him and demand an explanation. This is where he'd explain what happened and how Squad Zero tried to forcibly take him down and make him the new linchpin. The Ghouta 13 would naturally side with Ichigo, as he's the person who saved them countless times in the past. But the risk of all 3 realms being destroyed would still concern them, so they'd ask Ichigo if he has a way to solve their problem. Unfortunately, even Ichigo, who's been reborn, wouldn't have the answer to this question. Still, he believed that there must be a way, and he wouldn't stop until he finds it. Ichigo would first consult Urahara, as he's the smartest man he knows. Urahara would tell Ichigo that there's no other way to stabilize the 3 realms without creating a new linchpin. Ichigo would be disappointed to hear that and would wonder if all of this is his fault for trying to change things from the very start. After a lot of thinking, Ichigo would accept responsibility for changing things and would agree to become the linchpin to save everyone. However, this is when Urahara would tell him that there might actually be another way. You see, all they need is a vessel strong enough to become the anchor for the 3 realms, and there is one person besides Ichigo who fits that description perfectly: Aizen. Aizen would be the perfect vessel to become the Soul King, as he's merged with the Hogyoku, whose power can grant his deepest desires. After learning this, Ichigo and Urahara would head over to Muken to meet Aizen and tell him about their plan. Although Aizen would be amused, he would immediately reject their proposal. However, Urahara and Ichigo would tell him that he doesn't really have a choice. They would then force a few high-level Kido spells into Aizen's body to restrict him even further before taking him into the Soul Palace. There, Aizen would be forced to absorb the remains of the Soul King and become the next linchpin of the 3 realms. Aizen would warn Ichigo and Urahara that they would regret their decision, but they'd just smile and leave, leaving behind a furious and broken Aizen who would finally achieve his goal of becoming a god. Although, not in the way he wanted. Don't forget to click the link in the description to download Watcher of the Realm now and claim Ezio for free.